Absolute facts. Let's roll right into the pregame show for our first matchup. I told you the match is right around the corner. It's Team Queso versus Fury 1. And I mentioned there's some differences in opinion here, but let's get through the rosters of these squads first, starting with Team Queso. Ash, break down this roster for me.
Well, we've got some names that we probably recognize from the past, and Cristalize and Sleeafer. We've seen them play on former teams like F&I. We've seen them play on Pittsburgh Knights. These are guys with some veteran experience, and then we've got that talent in Jaled, am I saying the name right? And Problems, who kind of bring this roster together. They've shown some signs of life throughout this tournament. They're obviously looking pretty good. They're feeling pretty hot, and I'm excited to see what Queso can put together with this nice mix of talent.
I just want to point out that he said Jaled, even though the Twitter handle has 2 E's in it. Okay, so when we switch over to the next squad, which we're going to do right now, Fury 1's roster, first off, Rip's talk about it. And I just want to point out that it has 1 O in it, so it's clearly aimbot, not aimboot, but I'll let y'all crazy people call him aimboot, which makes no sense. Rip's talking about this roster.
Add the 69 and underscore there, too. Just put all of that in his gamer tag, and I want whoever's casting this first match to call him aimbot69 every time he gets a 3-piece. But no, this roster is one of our new up-and-coming teams. They have, like I said, some of the most mechanically sound players in the game. So much fun to watch. I'm talking about last move entry. They are walking highlight reels, and they seem to be able to take control maps against some of our best teams in our league. And that's impressive. Control, I mean, it takes a lot of coordination, it takes a lot of confidence, but they seem to win control, and then a lot of the times the first map control, and then they don't know what happens after that. I mean, execution, escalation, they lose 3-1 so many times after winning that first map, but still yet, one of the teams that we need to keep an eye out on. If they could catch fire, definitely could win shotgun battles against any of the teams in our league.
Yeah, they definitely can win shotgun battles against any of the teams in the league, but only if you get aim boot a blanket. This man looks cold. He's shivering. He's freezing on screen right now. Get him a blanket, and we're good. But I got to agree. I mean, this is an interesting matchup, right? I think, Ash, you covered it well when you talked about Team Queso, a team of some established veterans and players. Sleeafer, formerly on the Pittsburgh Knights. Cristalize has been doing it for a while on Fire Knights and other rosters. They're playing up against the kind of next up-and-coming run-and-gun team in LATAM. We've been talking about and calling that for a while. But time and time again, you remember when Monkeys was that up-and-coming player. Time and time again, those players are the ones that kind of, out with the old and in with the new, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you bring up Monkeys has always kind of been one of those like long-term consistent players, and I just don't think he gets the attention he deserves. I think the same can be said about Cristalize. If you watch Cristalize, he can make or break a team, but more often than not, he is making that team. He is delivering them success. Hell, I've been at the receiving end of that. My team has been at the receiving end of that, unfortunately. Cristalize is a monster when he decides he can be and wants to be. So I'm looking at Cristalize specifically in this matchup to take down these young, hot, ready-to-play players on Fury.
Oh, I like that. Cristalize is kind of the X factor for Team Queso. Well, let's jump in the picks and bans, and then I want to get your thought on who that X factor is for Fury 1. But first things first, starting with the bans. Ash, walk us through what we saw here. Or sorry, is it Ribs? Ribs, walk us through what we saw here.
Yeah, sure thing. Fury 1, they're going to ban Reactor Control, Tomb Execution. On the side of TQ, get rid of Spire Control, Ephira Execution, and Training Grounds Escalation. So I'm curious to see if we're going to get Vasgar Escalation like we get every series, or if we're going to be blessed with that random Harbor Escalation we see once in a while. But as we see the picks right here, Ash, just take it away.
Yeah, so for the picks, we've got Regency Control for the first map picked by Fury. Queso's bringing in Checkout Execution, Fury bringing us to Harbor Escalation, Queso taking us to District Control, and then we're ending it, if we get there, on Clocktower Execution. Massive throwback to Fallout's days. But, the interesting thing for me here is looking at the stats, doing my research on Fury. These are not maps that I would say they're statistically the strongest at. So I'm really curious what their game plan going into this is. I have some teammates, it was either Explosive or Mental, who said, and I quote, "If we don't know what we're doing, there's no way that they know what we're doing." So maybe that is the strategy going into the picks here. I'm hoping that they have a game plan prepared for today. Otherwise, I could see this being a Queso domination, but I have faith.
You could see it being a case of domination, but from the mental logic, they won't know what they're doing either. So perhaps it's some kind of reverse logic. And by the way, that definitely sounds like something Mental would say, and I'm dying at just the thought of that. But hey, let's take a look at our Fran's keys to success. The person that was standing on the other side of the stage in those, marquee matchups back in the day. Fran and his keys to victory, starting with Team Queso. And whoever's going to take this one, feel free.
I'll take this one. So, Team Queso, they got to weather the storm. Fury 1 typically comes out hot on map 1. We saw that against Rise earlier in pool play on yesterday. So, we got to make sure that Queso controls the control. Winner of checkout takes the series, gets Sleeafer the long shot. So the plan here, we need to get that sniper into Sleeafer's hands. We know historically he's really great with ranged weapons. He's a great support player. So if we can get him that long shot, we can take control of the checkout, and then we can close out the series from there.
Boom. On the flip side, Fury 1, I know a dad joke is coming, knowing franchise. Ribs, take it away.
Oh boy, look at this. Fury 2 or Fury 3? Basically what Fran's saying here is Fury 1, even as we said, against some of the best teams in the league, they're able to take that first map. We saw them do it against Rise yesterday on District. This time around, it's going to be Regency, but they have to be able to go into map 2. We saw its checkout, win that execution, or maybe even win Harbor, which was their pick. And yeah, I think that second map's so important. Fran hit the nail right on the head. If Fury 1 could walk away from checkout with some fresh groceries, some queso in their bag, I think they could actually win this series 3-1. I think they win 1, 2, and 4 if Fury 1's able to win.
All right, we'll see if they can do it. You gotta win. You gotta win that map 2, and apparently map 3. Franchise is really just making things obvious now. You gotta win maps to win the series. So thank you, franchise. Some fantastic keys to victory. John,
thanks, Fran.
I appreciate you. That Fran's just as successful in this keys to victory as he was on main stage against Ash and Optic Gaming. Let's just be honest here. No, I'm just kidding, Fran. I love you. He threw me shade at me earlier, so I had to get him back. All right, it's time for predictions. We got to jump right into this one. Ribs, starting with you. Who do you think's going to take it? Actually, you know what? I take that back. I'm going to go to you last. I'm going to go first. Sorry. And I'm going to say Fury 1 takes this. I think they got this as a new kind of up-and-coming team. I think they are next. They are the truth. I know they struggle to close out games yesterday against some teams. I think they come out hot. I think Fury 1 takes it 3-2, though. I think it'll be a close one. Ash, I want to go to you next.
I don't want to sound like just because I'm new, I'm copying you, even though I very highly respect your opinion. But I have to agree with you. I think Fury has the potential. I think they have the talent. And I think they have that hunger that maybe some of the more veteran players have kind of lost over the season. So I'm looking at Fury taking this, and I'm going to say probably a 3-2 as well.
3-2 as well. Ribs, you going with us?
I want to start off by saying I love that we're starting off with this matchup. 7th and 8th seed in Pro League. This is a hard match to call. I'm going to go with Sleeafer, though, and the Savvy Vets, the Sleeafer and Cristalize. I love what Ash has said about Cristalize. I think he's had some great plays throughout this split. And then Problems and Jaled. I think they are the two shoddy players that need to kind of keep Aim Boot and Ventry and Toxic all kind of in their spots. But yeah, Sleeafer has been playing amazing. One of my favorite players, one of Blaze's favorite players also. And I think they're going to get this win in a 3-1 fashion.
Oh, I love to see that. That's how we start off Championship Saturday, baby, and Championship Bracket with a little controversy and some split decisions here. So Ribs has Team Queso. Ash and I are going Fury 1, but honestly, as we've all said, this could go either way. This is probably the closest matchup we've had on stream yet, and I am so excited. 7th seed versus 8th seed. I know it's not just the three of us that are excited, but I'd also welcome in Toby Campbell and the man himself, Reflections. I know they're sharing our excitement. Boys, I want to hear your thoughts on predictions. Reflections, starting with you. Who you got winning this one?
Team Queso. I'm actually really surprised two are going for Fury 1. Fury 1's a great team. They always start off on map 1 explosively, but Team Queso I view as just a better teamworking team. That's how I see it. So I think they're going to be fantastic. It's not as elegant as Ashes and Ribs and well, as Ashes and Ribs made it, but it still is the way that I see it. Toby, who are you going for?
You know, I'm actually a little bit confused because if you're going to go with a 3-2, which I am thinking of actually at this moment in time, I just can't see Fury 1 taking it then because you got Clocktower last map. I mean, Team Queso are very, very good at that. You throw Sleeafer in with a snipe on down the alleyway. I feel as though TQ should take that, and I think that's probably what I'm going to go with, 3-2 to...
I find Toby using good analysis and logic. I'm going to say 3-1 Fury 1. I changed that prediction.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Makes a lot more sense, though. He's right. That's what we said. If Fury 1's going to win, it's 1, 2, and 4. They win both controls, and they squeeze out that checkout. But we'll have to wait and see. Gameplay is getting on pretty soon, so...
You know what? I'm going to throw it to you guys. I'm going to say 3-0. I'm taking it even further. 3-0 Fury 1. They're coming out hot. We're just going to keep the momentum going and give them all manifest. The steamroll train that's about to come. Yeah, it's going to be Fury 3 is what we're going to see right now. Fury 3-0 in the words of my man Fran. But that's going to be it for us and the analyst Des. Boys, take it away. Let's get this match started.
They're such a distinguished panel. I love seeing them, and they're spot on, Toby. You're an intelligent person. Your analysis is on point, and that's why we brought you here. You got to balance out my stupidity, and I think you do that well, Toby. How you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing good, brother. It's great to be alongside as an intelligent caster as yourself. And I'm surprised, actually. You know, you described your top as maroon the second we switched the camera, but no, I don't think it is actually maroon. I mean, what is that? I mean, what is this? Is this maroon?
Okay. I see. This is the thing. It looks red, but it definitely is maroon. I promise you, it's maroon. All right. I'm not a moron, but I can definitely tell it's maroon. But yours is strapping, and you have a nice little bird on it too. So you're definitely a fan of nature, Toby. You look smashing today, and I found out you're Welsh. Didn't know. I just thought you were English, but your English is on point. Toby, we got a great match, all right? Team Queso and Fury 1. Really, though, this could very well go the distance. 3-2 could be a possibility. Now, will it be Fury 1 or Team Queso after that 3-2 victory? We'll definitely see. Fury 1 always has explosive starts, but let's get deeper into it. Let's talk about the maps we're looking at, but also, more importantly, Toby, the maps that have been played previously the last time these two met.
Yeah, that's the important part, right? Of course, it was a 3-1 to TQ last time in Pro League. It was day number 3, so quite a while back now, of course, early on into the Pro League split. Interestingly, District is going to come up, right? That's map number 4. Well, should come up if we go past the first 3 maps, of course. TQ, interestingly, won that 300-294, but you can't mention District without mentioning what happened yesterday when we casted over Fury 1. They beat Rise on that map, and we know how good Rise are on District. And so even just then, starting on District, map number 4, of course, if we go to it, I mean, that's an interesting one already. I mean, it makes it more, it really puts into perspective how close these two teams are. You know, yesterday we kind of had a lot of 3-0s, right? And kind of the dominant team's kind of winning as one would predict. But maybe just this is the start of the point where in the event upsets and really, really close matches can start going. I think it could be a good one.
So I think Fury 1 is going to start off strong as they typically do. But they do that not because it's just map 1, they come in fresh and they start hitting it, their opponents hard and in the face. That's not what it's all about. They're just a great control team. That's just the bottom line. But are they a great execution? Are they a great escalation team? I don't think they are. And I think that boils down to not having a vocal and dominant IGL on the roster that can guide them and really make those adjustments on the fly. Whereas Team Queso, they have the veteran leadership, of course, of Sleeafer, maybe even throw Advers in there, and of course you have a good mix that can guide of course in this case Problems as well as Chavi. So those two can be guided effectively. So the teamwork is better. So execution, escalation is where Fury 1's going to hit a roadblock. But I have no doubt that control is going to be great. But make no mistake about it, Team Queso is also a relatively good control team as well. So that makes this series a bit more difficult for Fury 1. I think it's going to be Fury 1 fighting tooth and nail to get each and every map over Team Queso. But I ask you a question though, Toby, mentality-wise, how's Team Queso feeling, you think? Because we watched them yesterday, obviously, play against KCP. That was a massacre. Do you think they can effectively let that go and start fresh today against F1?
Well, that should be the goal, right? This is it's a team that's actually quite experienced at this point. They've been in the Pro League many times. They have fallen out of it and come back. And they've had some very good performances in major events, right? Just like this one. And so you'd hope using that experience and very difficult matches they've already experienced in the past, that they should be able to put that behind them and reset and really be professionals mentally and see it out now against Fury 1.
Great opening start. It seeds for Problems. I thought he was about to go on a terror, but no, Fury 1. They are going to be the first ones getting those points, but maybe not for long. Last move forced to just retreat behind whatever little cover he can find. Jaled rotating in with this teammate of Sleeafer, and Toxic, though, to his credit, back rolling, getting a nice elimination. Rope-a-dope. He manages to get away for a short period. Scrappy fight for sure, and that's really going to be the narrative for the entirety of this map 1.
Absolutely. I think maybe all the maps that we see today between these two teams, because these are the kind of players that they are. We were talking about mechanics yesterday in terms of Fury 1 and being very skilled in that sense. But there's also, you've got Jaled, you have Problems, Cristalize and Sleeafer, who are all very good mechanically. And that was one of the concerns, of course, with Team Queso, is losing Chavi originally. Can you keep up the mechanical skill? I think you have been able to so far. And speaking of mechanical skill, Aimboot already going off with the Empire.
Yeah, well done from Aim Boots. I mean, this guy is a standout player. Love watching him compete. And you got to keep an eye on him because he is incredible. But unfortunately, he's going to drop, and Team Queso finds a way to penetrate the hill, but it's going to be a bit tricky for them. Yes, they are where the current hill is going to be, but Fury 1 are on a tear. They are wolfpacking in and looking to take spawn control, like the use of smokes, utilities out. That's going to force Cristalize pretty much all the way back to his spawn. He's trying everything in his power to just pepper him. Whoa, it looks like it was going to work, Toby, but until the last second, Fury 1 get back on their feet, and now they can attack Jaled, the last TQ member on the hill.
Yeah, unfortunate for him, of course, Cristalize all that effort, and he couldn't get that meat shield off at the very least at the end. So close. Jaled, great movement from him, but it won't mean much as he'll be taken down. 60 seconds left on this clock. But Team Queso, it stays scrappy. They have the numbers to completely re-engage immediately, and already downing Aim Boot there in the process.
Entry through the smoke, sees a couple of victims up ahead, or potential victims, I should say. Sleeper and Cristalize will pick themselves up by the shoulders, but unfortunately not for very long. Again, Fury 1 doing a wonderful job slaying out and taking control of the hill with 47 seconds left. Now they're taking a bit of a page from the playbook of Rise and E United. They're pushing out. They're taking the fight to Team Queso well ahead of the hill.
Great movement from Aim Boot. Well played indeed. Last. Oh, he's going to get dropped. Jaled with the double there. The M-bar should be up soon. Any second. In fact, it is already up. And there we go. Jaled will take that one. 30 seconds left on the clock. Neck and neck in score. As we cast our eyes to the top left. Sleeafer still engaging. 25 seconds left. You can see Team Queso still going for it. Jaled, meanwhile, will get an M-bar to the left. Just the headshot coming through. Consideration now for Team Queso, of course, is to try and snowball those kills a little bit, re-engage later on, but with the numbers advantage, with a little bit of a setup on the next hill.
Gotta say, this is definitely giving me the vibes of a close series, a close map in general. 54-46. Nobody taking a tremendous lead. Nobody really getting a foothold on either P1 or P2. P3 might change. That's a great shot. Jaled will fall. Fury 1 wants to get the finish. They can't clear the gap enough. There's not enough, at least, room past the shot. So they're gonna have to double back, but I guess not. They're gonna just continue to push forward. Jaled on his last down and out. He's gonna get snubbed out from Toxic, just a little bit up ahead. And now Team Queso can continue to push forward. Cristalize does have a great angle on those steps onto last move, so that gives free reign for Sleeper to push through, but he's having a tough time. Ventry holding his ground. Problems moves in. You got Aim Boot trying his best for Fury 1 to lock it in, but he's not going to be able to, and Team Queso will increase their lead by a little bit more.
Complete chaos right now, this match, Taylor, between these two teams. There are just multiple fights going on at all times. There's very little slow play or pauses. Finally, it seems like we're going to have a little bit of a slowdown now as Team Queso were able to wipe Fury 1 with quite a lot of confidence there. Ventry just close by, has to choose whether he's going to help his teammates or not. Double down, in fact, right to the right of him. Team Queso, great land string clearly already. 30 seconds left on this hill. They're going to have to engage right now.
Nice push from Fury 1. I mean, they're wolfpacking. This is the chance. I mean, if they ever had one to take over the hill for sure. Team Queso, though, they're backing away. But now it's time to close the gap. And Jaled does an amazing job on one, but can't do it on the others. Problems, tries to answer in response. But Sleeafer, last one standing, will force at least 2 members from Fury 1 back. That's going to be Aim Boot as well as Toxic, but Aim Boot's going to get the final elimination. Jaled will get the M-bar. Fury 1 will get the scrap time, but we got to focus on next, Toby.
Yeah, and Jaled again with the M-bar. 8 kills to his name already this early on. Let's see, secret landing essentially for the moment. Nice body check on last, not the headshot he needed though. Not able to get that shot on the leg to finalize that kill. Meanwhile, Fury 1 have a bit of a split push right now. 2 to the left, 2 on the right. Frags to throw in the mix as well. Great shot from Jaled, considering he knew he's probably going to get taken down by the nade, but he traded at least 1 kill with him.
So he sees Cristalize, last player from Team Queso before Fury 1 has control of the hill, and he will effectively take him down, double back to get Ventry just in the nick of time, but Sleeper's there potentially for the finish, but Ventry's ready for it. Nade thrown, that forces Jaled back. Fury 1 doing a wonderful job holding down P4 at the moment. Aim Boot, I like that aggression, and wants to keep Team Queso as far away as possible. They don't have any real estate in mid, so that's going to be all Aim Boot for the moment. But you notice Team Queso, they're going to be split 2 and 2 to pincer in the boys from Fury 1. This should be a retake from their perspective.
It should be. I mean, on paper, yes, but these teams are so neck and neck right now that Could go either way. Sleeafer trying to throw himself into the mix to find the kill, and he does do that. Quite a bit of damage on Aimboot, but well played. Great discipline. We talked about that before with Fury 1. Relatively new players in the grand scheme of things compared to a lot of the other teams here, but they certainly know how to play the game in a very smart way individually.
Aimboot looking at just a massive Team Queso members and really holding his ground, doing a wonderful job. It seems maybe there's a chance, but Aimboot's back on the revenge for the 2. Will we get 3? No, he will not. It's going to be snuffed just in front of him by Toxic, but either way, that's still an F1 win. And man, you got to really appreciate Fury 1 when they get into those CQC fights. Seems like they're on point. They're team firing together. They're getting those team pickups, those team revives. They really are a dominant force, but I mean, no more than Aimboot, 9k damage, 11 kills. Sure, Ventry has 12 himself, but not far behind with 7k damage. But the point is, Toby, when you look at that stat line, Fury 1, they are outslaying Team Queso, but still, though, it's 93 to 111. It's not like Fury 1 is taking over the map.
Absolutely. And Team Queso right now have had a bit of a setup go their way, right? 4 players all set up in a way that they've kind of planned out, but Aimboot is there with the Ember. Fury 1 are ready to go essentially through the spawn, it looks like. No, instead, they're going to change just on the balls of their ankle where they quickly turn to the right and now try and throw themselves down the staircase. But no, that's going to be stopped immediately with the down and kill on Ventry. Are they going to try and continue this, or are they going to pause and wait? Let's see.
Oh, Aimboot's down. Toxic might get him back up, but there is a player down from Team Queso over in the corner. They'll allow him to bleed out. That was Problems. Nice body shot. Does that give an opportunity for Fury 1 to push through? Not just yet. They want a little bit more. But as Jaled does fall, Fury 1 might be able to get this hill. Now, one thing about F1 that I've really appreciated is their penetration power. They've done such a good job dismantling Team Queso. It's kind of like the more this extends, the better Fury 1 slays out. But even still, Team Queso with their early rotations, they stay ahead objectively. They have the point lead only by a sliver. I mean, last time I watched Team Queso play on Regency, I think it ended 300 and 294. It's incredibly close. Team Queso might have another close one on their hands. Fury 1 are not backing down.
No, not at all. And that push, honestly, on the last hill after losing Ventry is a great example of that. Just so confident, but so disciplined at the same time, holding close as they can, still utilizing that Ember well. Of course, Aimboot doing exactly that. Now, slow build-up now, ready for this push. Team Queso once again getting the early setup. It results in the 10-point advantage as it stands. Sleeafer, lovely down on Ventry. Toxic will get downed as well. And Fury 1 have to try and deathball through the middle, through the front side, but not going to happen. Team Queso, a clean sweep for them. Everyone's still alive, rotating over for the Ember.
And I don't know where that shock went from Aimboot, Toby. He had it in his inventory, but I don't see it making any impact whatsoever on the hill. Plus, I think he was out of shots with the Ember, you'd have to assume, but let's see what Problems does on the second rotation. Fury 1 will be pushing through once again. Aims one up on Aimboot. He's going to be forced to retreat back. That's another body shot. Fury 1, do they back away or do they continue to push forward? Well, it's going to be a bit of a hybrid. Last move didn't slow down. Now they're all going to be into the hill. Problems trying to line up shot after shot after shot, but he can't connect on anybody, Toby. This is getting a bit tricky now as the gap has been closed. Problems, Nasher out. He gets one, can't get the second. Sleeafer now has a chance to recuperate. They lost a couple of great shots, but it's just simply not going to be enough. Fury 1 will win at least a scrap time, but it's not going to be anything to send home with. Team Queso, they've got a minor lead.
That they do. Ventry 16-8 as it stands right now in the KD department. Really important, of course, given Fury 1's slaying power as it stands. Make that 17-8, essentially, as he downs Sleeafer. 4v3. That means numbers advantage for a very important hill in the form of Garden. It means the collapse on that can actually be a little bit easier if Fury 1 move quickly.
Problems a bit of a skirmish against Aimboot. Close the gap, take him down. Nice job. Cristalize on the Toxic. Full red, no worries. Still is able to get 2 for his hard work. And Ventry will fall. And you see that little bit of love there. It's not much, but it's enough to take note of. Maybe Team Queso is starting to feel themselves and maybe feel like this is the turning point where they have the momentum shift. After all, they are the first team to take, or at least break 200. And also the first team to take a bit of a lead, more than 50 points.
Yeah, they know how close it is, right, Taylor? The mind games between the two teams are going to start very early, I think, because you need everything. You need every advantage you can at this level of play with so high stakes. 10 seconds on the Ember until that spawns up, but let's get into the fight here. Oh my goodness me, Fury One just throwing themselves in again, but Team Queso just hold on strong. They put up the brick wall and no one gets through. Everyone is still alive, Taylor. Despite that slaying power we were talking about for Fury One, Team Queso now have been able to set up time and time again on the hills, and it's resulted in the points difference we see now.
And I love that you use the comment brick wall, and I think that's a great usage for Team Queso. They really are a brick wall, and I always compliment their teamwork. And Fury One, as much as they have penetration power, as much as they can slay out, once Team Queso starts to get a feel for the match, get a feel for Fury One, when they do set up as a team, it is difficult to break the hills. It is difficult to get kill after kill, or at least a string of kills, a highlight play, if you will. So Fury One might be slowing down a bit, but at least to their credit, they do have control of the current hill. They effectively push Team Queso back. They got a couple of loose ends to tie up. That's going to be Jaled and co, but it seems as if they're doing that swimmingly. Well done. Now they have definitive control, but can they hold on? Team Queso, to their credit, when they set up early, Toby, they look great. But when they lose control and then they have to break the hill, they don't look as strong.
And this was the important bit for Fury One. They have to break this momentum from Team Queso. Amazing shot from Ventry there. Again, 4v3, staggered for now. Giving a little bit more time for Fury One now to gain some more points before eventually that Team Queso offensive comes on through. 2 shots left for Ventry. They have to get as many points as they can, Fury One.
Neutral break. Team Queso moves in. Cristalize being the spearhead. Ventry, though, is hungry. Thinking there's a player in the corner. He checks it. Nobody there. The smoke finally clears, and with that, the fog of war goes away. Aimboot closes the gap, takes down 1. Now 2 more left. Team Queso seems as if they're starting to gain a competitive edge, and in fact, they do. That's an excellent job. Even though the smokes were placed, Fury One had a couple of different marks, but unfortunately, no players from F1 could capitalize off of those marks. So TQ was able to push in and just ultimately devastate F1 once they got inside the hill. That is a wonderful job. And we talked about Fury One stopping the momentum from Team Queso, Toby. Well, Team Queso takes it right back.
Yep, so well said. Absolutely. Short spawn came in for Fury One. 10 seconds left on the clock, though. So if they do lose this team fight, I mean, it's really for nothing, Taylor. And that's the problem now. Team Queso are really close to that 300 mark. There's a big gap in scoreline. And Team Queso, you can see them, all 3 together, running across the map, leaving Aimboot to his own devices here on a hill that is no longer in play. And they're going to be first to the hill. They're going to have the nice little setup all across this third of the map of Regency, if you will. And M-Bar in hand for Cristalize as well.
I mean, I think it ends here. I think Team Queso wins off of this hill. They've got one more definitive, solid push that they have to make, and they've got to do it together. Shock is going to block out 1, but Cristalize already going to take out the Spirit player, take down the second, and now 19 points away from victory is going to be Team Queso. Cristalize will stay 10 toes down inside the hill. Fury One might have one more stab at it, but I mean, at this point, they're going to be playing catch-up, Toby. From this point forward, it's not going to be an easy task whatsoever. Last move already down. He'll get picked back up, however. But Team Queso will light up the kill feed. Blue, those are the final remaining players. And Toby, it will end on this hill. 300 to 189. We talk about Fury One, and usually them starting off strong on map 1. We talk about how great they are on control. But Team Queso says, let's talk about how good we are on control, how good we are on Regency, and how promising we are to win this series.
You asked me, Taylor, at the start of the map, right? Do Team Queso have that psychology, that mentality to come back from a really difficult match yesterday against KCP? And I think they just proved it there, right in front of us, because it started off very close, didn't it? Back and forth we went with points and hills. But then suddenly around the halfway mark, Team Queso just change it up a little bit better. They get a little bit more accurate, with their timings and things, and they get a little bit more clear cut, shall we say, in their plays. And that was clear, right? They were always rotating first. They were getting to the setups early on. And that was despite what was a very aggressive, in-your-face kind of Fury One. We mentioned Ventry, of course, was doing a huge job in the slaying department, causing a lot of issues in that 1v area, especially on those transitions. But Team Queso, they got together. They kept lancering the same targets, had multiple downs at different times. It was clear why. This is of course, your eSwap controller play of the day. Or rather just a replay, excuse me. But this is the point, though. Even right at the back of the spawn, Cristalize was just simply all the way back, crossing between different players. And then even now, despite Aimboot's efforts, some really good wrap shots coming in. It just seemed like in the end, Team Queso were able to pull it together. Yes, continue to use those lanterns, continue to sit at the back of the spawn as we saw Cristalize earlier. But even when it came to the shotgun department, look at this, 3 players down, despite huge efforts from Fury One, coming in at the exact same time with some very good pushes, Problems and Co were able to hold it together.
For me, Toby, a couple of points. And one point that I want to bring up is your brick wall statement, which I think was, it's simple in nature, but it really does define Team Queso. And I made a bit of a point, but I want to kind of hammer it home a little bit more. When it comes to Team Queso, they really are a brick wall when they're able to set up definitively defensively. It's difficult to break their setup, at least in this case for Fury 1. But, you know, when that brick wall isn't necessarily set up and they're still, you know, laying down the foundation, it's a bit easier to break through. And Fury 1 was finding that. When Team Queso was going toe-to-toe with F1 off of the rip, when we saw the scoreline so incredibly close, Fury 1 was getting what they wanted. They were getting those chaotic CQC fights, those chaotic engagements. And then Team Queso had a bit of a shift at a certain point in time where they started working more together as a team. They laid that foundation. They built the wall up brick by brick. And once it was set, Fury 1 had a much more difficult time dismantling and breaking through that wall. And in fact, they didn't. And that's why the scoreline was still 300 to 189. So that was a great point and a great, thing you brought up, Toby. Team Queso, they look good. Fury 1, that aggression is wonderful. Their slaying power is on point. Their mechanical abilities is fantastic. But their teamwork and their overall ability to be able to adjust on the fly isn't. And Team Queso dominate in that regard. And that's why F1 had such a difficult time on Regency in the second half.
Yeah, and just the last point, I guess, about Regency overall is it is a setup-heavy map, right? It is all about your teamwork, your lances, your positioning, more so than your ability to just completely run around and slay. And so, yeah, Team Queso, advantage there for sure. Going into checkout, a little bit different, isn't it, in terms of a map? Of course, it's a completely different mode for starters and execution. It's a classic map. It's going to be all about aggression, but, you know, touching upon Ash's great point earlier about Sleeafer and the snipe, especially on this map. I mean, did Team Queso just completely change that up and go Fury 1 style with the aggression and the chaos and just go full checkout constantly with that bias over towards the snipe side of things rather than the plat? Just to get the snipe into Sleeafer's hands. I wonder if that could be a solid plan for them going against Fury 1 now.
I definitely think it will be. I mean, Sleeafer's devastating. I mean, really devastating with the sniper. And he's got 2 chances to do that here on checkout, but maybe even Clocktower a little bit later. But we'll focus our attention on Aim Boot. He was challenging Sleeafer for the instance, which he gets away. A lot of presence from F1 on plat, but it doesn't go anywhere. Sleeafer sends an instant flying. It doesn't connect either. The aggression from F1 is in. Sleeafer really needs a connection here. He's going to get a couple of hit markers and a down onto last move. That's a great recovery. 3v3, make that a 3v2. It's getting scrappy. 2v2, make that a 2v1. Now Toxic last alive. Fury 1's chances, they rest in his hands. Now we're gonna have a bit of a slowdown for Sleeafer, for Jaled, Toby. Seems as if they're gonna try and swing it wide. Toxic looking to get close. He can't get close enough. And Team Queso, a chaotic round. They see Fury 1's aggression, and they ended up countering it. Well done.
Well, we knew this map could be scrappy just like the others, and we just saw that there. Fury 1, right? They have really good mechanical skill, and it's clear every single map that we see them play, right? And we saw it on Regency despite the Team Queso efforts that we were talking about. And this is a really good opportunity now for them to also make it a bit more chaotic and kind of lend itself to that. But Team Queso there, the way they dealt with that, just despite the anarchy that was going on in checkout, both teams really put the heart and soul into it. And we're going back to a 4v4 again here over on the side.
Oh, Toxic, that's what I'm talking about. I was missing a bit of that off of round 1. Sleeafer should not be able to get instants that free as he did in round 1. And in round 2, he will definitely not. Such a clean and concise round from the side of Fury 1. Just 21 seconds, Toby. Toxic making the biggest impact.
Absolutely so. It's a really big area, of course, the plat side, and it might be the advantage of Fury 1, right? It's a little bit more disorganized on that side of the checkout with the use of the utility, with the stuns and whatnot. We saw before that Toxic likes to get in your face, right? To be that front man in those positions. We saw it against Rise on the middle bridge, where he was giving Detox a run for his money. So if you can continue that, big advantage, I think, for Fury 1.
Toxic had an impact in round 2. Will he have one here? Aim Boot will get a drop on the problems. Toxic is also down, but finally the first kills start to come through, but it's going to be a 2v2. Sleeafer can't stay alive long enough. A bit of a misroll, an opportunity for Jaled, but he can make it happen. Toby, in that moment, there was a misroll from Toxic. Jaled could have hit the shot, but I couldn't see his perspective, but for some reason, it didn't pull the trigger.
edge of your seat stuff. Wow. A misroll right in front of the player that I'm sure both players, their heart rates just went through the ceiling at that point. And Aimboot was just trying to prepare for one of those casualties to go down and be there ready to take the 1v if needs be. My goodness me.
Man, Jaled, he had that chance. Unfortunately, he didn't take it for whatever reason. Bit of a more aggressive push for that sniper. You mentioned Sleeafer getting his hands on it. There was a chance for first blood from Team Queso's perspective, but Fury 1 will answer back, and they get the finish themselves. And despite TQ's aggression for the sniper, Toby, they don't get it.
Yeah, this is clear, right? Fury 1, they want to try and dominate through that middle checkout area, or rather through the plat side. And meanwhile, Team Queso, they're having a little bit more of a bias now to the snipe, especially when Fury 1 are doing so well handling that platform. It's not only Toxic, right? It was Aimboot in the previous round, choosing when to climb up on that very vulnerable position of the platform where you're so exposed and reliant on team revives. And that's what Fury 1 are doing so well. They're just on each other's bodies, essentially, ready to revive and clean up kills and trade wherever necessary. And that is what's led to this 4v3 situation now. Team Queso backs against the wall, closer to that snipe. Fury 1 with the advantage.
Wow, F1 is going to push as well. You know, they know they're in a 4v3, but now we kind of, switch sides of the checkout stand. But that's a massive down onto Sleeafer. That's going to be an easy cleanup. Problems tries to swing it wide. Unfortunately, he's not going to find anybody, and Jaled last alive 1v4. Clean round from Fury 1. The aggression was there, Toby, but could that aggression, obviously it works out, but in an alternate universe, could that aggression maybe have benefited Team Queso?
Maybe. I mean, maybe. But the point for me, I think, Taylor, is maybe just wait a little bit longer for the pressure of the time to influence Team Queso a little bit more. But also, I mean, just generally speaking, it wasn't that bad of a push for me. I think they really executed pretty well and targeted well for the most part. But the main important factor now going to this round is Team Queso, they need to deal with this aggression through the plat somehow.
Problems up. That's a big opening kill onto Aimboot. Team Queso, though, will lose that advantage very quickly as Sleeafer will die off entry, picking up a massive elim. Now 3v2. Toxic and Last have to really work well together. There's an opportunity, a sliver of a chance, but it's quickly shut down. And Team Queso will finally win another round and bring it 3-2. It did get away from them through 2 through 4, Toby, but we do finally see an answer back. The first bloods, it seems, is key and critical, obviously, for Team Queso's success.
Yeah, that's for sure. It really is a big factor in checkout. Of course, that first blood usually allows you to then leverage that number. If there is, of course, a pause and there's no trade, to actually get those incens, right? And get off the plan, choose your positioning, and then focus where to go with your numbers. Let's see. 4v4 again. Every time, both players off to a flying start on the next.
Ooh, Sleeafer down once again. He's just not having a good game. I mean, he's getting pretty much taken down every single time from Fury 1's perspective, and it's so heartbreaking to see. You know, Sleeafer, he gets a lot of value from going for the snipe, but I mean, traditionally on execution in general, Toby, he gets a ton of value from slaying out. He's just not having those numbers. He's 1-5. I mean, he's been first blooded, I want to say 3 times at this moment. It's just a tough game for him.
It's time to change things up, in my opinion, for Team Queso, right? Just actually go fully in for the snipe, accept that the platform is going to go to Fury 1 more times than not, and you're having a great time there, 1-5 on the platform. Don't be too aggressive, just simply go more towards the snipe side.
This time he is going to be center checkout. Be an opportunity. Files a couple of warning shots on the Toxic. Problems getting very aggressive, and he's going to get first blooded. I appreciate the aggression, but I think it needs to be tapered off. Team Queso hasn't had an issue with being aggressive, but sometimes it gets to the point of almost recklessness, at least in my eyes, Toby. Maybe you have a different opinion.
Yeah, maybe. I think Fury 1 changed it up a little bit and perhaps caused a lot of confusion in the moment for Team Queso. As Fury 1 then just threw all the players through checkout side that time round, right? Using their right hand just to throw themselves in. It's very hard to respond to. And, Team Queso, a team like this at this point, based on how they played on Regency, they'd probably love to be playing Gears 3 right now, where you can just leave the checkout completely and play all in for the nades and kind of trap them in there and change things up. But instead, they're going to have to go with a little bit less of a contrast. That's Jaled going for the nades and then sitting back inside checkout. The nades are thrown in. Are they going to connect? Does it even matter? Problems with the Lancer kill.
It's the big thing, right? Problems with the Lancer kill, but Fury 1 does get some real estate at least. They do, 4v2, not going to be easy, but last move with the sniper maybe could even things up. Great body, no one to follow it up with. Ventry on the other side, he's going to get, unfortunately, wolf packed on, and Team Queso will respawn to keep the map alive. 5-3. A lot of work to be done. 3 rounds in a row needed for Team Queso. Meanwhile, Fury 1 still only need 1 round. But the adjustment, I mean, obviously we see a nade pickup from Team Queso's perspective. It doesn't seem like it had that big of an impact because, again, the Lancer kill was the biggest impact for me, the first blood.
I think Team Queso just read Fury 1 like a book there, and they had 3 Lancers on 1 point. Fury 1 just weren't expecting it at all, as they've just been going as fast as they can with no pause, and they just run into their death. This time around, Team Queso going back to the norm, though, biasing to the checkout side.
Good team fire. You got to respect that. Ventry from Shumi Jaled having a very difficult time. Cristalize can barely get away. He's going to get dropped right behind that pillar, so he'll get back into the fight. Stalemate just a tad bit. It is a 4v4, and typically in these stalemates, Fury 1 are not shy. They're the aggressors typically. Team Queso can use that to their advantage. They know it's going to be coming. A lot of team fire. Wait a second, there's going to be a bit of an audible. The plat fight, the plat push might have just taken Crystallize off guard, but Aimboot gets away with the instance. So much going down, Toby.
Wow, and Aimboot had to push on that side as well because Toxic got full red in that corner. They had to alleviate the pressure that they created. Toxic picking up the snipe last down as well, but I think they'll be able to get out of that. I'm not too sure. 1 incend as well, mind you. Are they going to catch problems on the escape? Ooh, almost as he goes down. 4v4. Nades thrown in, snipe. Certainly in the hands of Toxic. Look at this, a Team Queso player from behind as well. Everything going on right now.
His getting pretty wild finally. Blood will be shed, but it's quickly answered back by 2 more eliminations on Fury 1's perspective. Now a 3v2, make that a 3v1. Problems last alive, but not for long. And Fury 1, despite letting that last round go, it doesn't matter. They recover quickly after it. They will do some 360s. They will get the beatdowns. Fury 1 returning the love that was shown on Regency control, Toby. I like that this series is tied up 1-1, and honestly, a big win from Fury 1. When we talk about them, they traditionally don't win executions or escalations, yet in this case, they absolutely do. And as far as I know we'll recap when we come back. This is Fury 1's first time beating Team Queso in execution. So well done from them. Checkout seems to be the map that worked out. They were able to get aggressive, which fit their playstyle well. With this being tied up 1-1, that makes Harbor Escalation coming up next that much more interesting. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, map 3 coming your way. Back, ladies and gentlemen, to day 2 of the Gears Spring Major. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Toby Campbell. Toby, we're tied up 1-1. A great response from Fury 1.
Oh, absolutely so. I mean, that was the kicker, right? How are they going to respond after a very grueling Regency map, right? Where they were so close, but then the distance was just so far in points towards the end as Team Queso got the number. But honestly, Fury 1 knew what they were doing in checkout. Team Queso had to respond, right? You know, they changed the strats a number of times.
Sure.
They went for the passive Lancer strategy, which is a little bit more rare, a bit more unorthodox, right? Triple Lancer through the through the platform to down whoever gets up on the plat, right, for those incends. But that worked out, and they knew they couldn't keep that up, right? Fury 1 would adapt. They had to revisit the checkout eventually, and when they did, of course, Fury 1 wrapped things up with their usual aggression. Very interesting, actually, checkout for me, Taylor. I really enjoyed that one. Fundamentally, it was just kind of your back to basic strats between Team Queso and Fury 1 in a way that we're kind of used to with Gears 3. I mentioned Gears 3, right? A really big difference for me as more of an analyst of the game is that back in Gears 3, when teams were losing the checkout consistently, they would actually start to rotate maybe 3, maybe 4 players over towards the nade side, and they would all bias to that side, have what I like to call bookcases, both bookcases locked down, and then you keep them locked in checkout and kind of work around that. But instead, in this game, a little bit more cutthroat. You can't just completely abandon and play more of a passive game. You have to eventually revisit that checkout, and it really matters then how well you execute either on the snipe side of checkout or plat side. And so Fury 1, in full understanding of the nature of checkout, really took advantage there. We're flexible, but fast, in your face, and caused so much pressure and issues for Team Queso.
Yeah, well, I just hope Sleeafer has a better performance in map 3 because, I mean, he usually is the tip of the spear for this roster in terms of just popping off and overall guiding his troops, which I don't think was done very well on checkout, to be honest with you. I think the over-aggression hurt Team Queso in a lot of different ways, and Fury 1 did a wonderful job capitalizing off of that over-aggression, whether it been Sleeafer or even Problems a couple of times. Last time we watched these two play, it was on Vascar Toby, and I believe it was 5-3 victory for TQ. This time around, it's Harbor. I think this is honestly a great map for Fury 1, given the fact that they can have those explosive initials that they're comfortable with and potentially close out the rounds early on.
I think you're right. Honestly, the initials are huge in Harbor, given the map control it provides, right? So let's see if that really benefits them in this one. Problems on our screen. Ventry reading that like a book. The up A comes straight in, instantly deleted off the map there. Meanwhile, down bottom, it's found Jaled. Should be a nice pinch for them. Yep, no funny business. Fury won't start off strong.
Wow, very strong indeed. I mean, they're going to be on all three hills momentarily, but of course, Team Queso will eventually get their home hill back. But you're right. They pride themselves on the initials. Initials on Harbor have to definitely be taken into account because you have a strong initial. You can finish off the round within 30 seconds. That's how quick this map can play. But also, on the flip end, for Team Queso, if they do extend the rounds, I think they're going to become more comfortable and they have a chance to read Fury 1 and see through their defensive setup. That was something they did very well on Regency and something they can do here. Look how quickly they recover. Only about a 40-point deficit. I mean, it could be great for Team Queso, but already Fury 1 looking to recover as they get it down on problems. And Sleeafer, a double down.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Team Queso could have gotten a little bit closer there and a bit more on the same page, if you will, with that break. But yeah, Fury 1 are going to handle that with relative ease. Are they going to go for the triple cap? It seems like Ventry straight away looking for that, mantling over the wall in front of Cristalize, ready to go. Toxic coming straight in, not going to find the give are either players, but this surely will be a triple cap if they keep it up. Indeed, they do, taking down the players in the back line, never mind the front. And that will be Fury 1 storming through the gates. And yeah, that's the flip end of it, right, Taylor? If Team Queso can get the setup on Harbor, then they'll be great, I'm sure, as we saw on Regency in that defensive position. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, Fury 1, if they're locking down defense and using that initial, that individual skill to get to the position we saw, then could cause a lot of issues for Team Queso, as we just saw.
Wow, not a single kill for Team Queso that entire round. Quite surprising because they did get their hands on B. I thought they got onto B by getting an elimination. No, they got there because Fury 1 backed away and they recovered so quickly, but things have already taken a turn. Sniper placed in mid this early on. Toby, how do you feel about that?
Fury 1 as well. It was Fury 1 that put that down. After
was it? Wow.
Dominating up top with a... They have a game plan. They honestly have a game plan. It's clear as day. And Fury 1 haven't even played this map much in Pro League because they know what they're doing against Team Queso on this.
We'll find out if they do or not. I mean, it's one thing to at least have a game plan. It's another to execute it effectively. Jaled, what a shot with the bold talk. Takes the head off of Toxic. Now he can pressure up onto Ventry and co. Aim boots over in the corner, but Jaled surely will get the cap. Sniper still not picked up. It's down. Nobody going for it just yet. Problems might be able to get his hands on it, unless it was backpack, but I don't think it was. I sincerely think it's still there, right?
I think so. That's why I believe to be the case. Crystalline's under a lot of pressure here. Jaled again with a bolt talk. Headshot stunning from him. Brilliant utility. Gain from that bolt talk. Oh, pressure on Crystallize though. Oh, it does find the kill. Aim boot well played to clean that one up. But hey, this snipe is going to be a controversial conversation perhaps between me and you for the remainder of this map, given how successful Fury 1 were at dominating up top in that initial, right? Now, problems, they've slowed it down. Jaled can use the bolt talk and have the fight down bottom. It's a fundamental change, basically, Taylor, that you usually see when a team is losing the fight up top, but Fury 1 dominated that, so they kind of just immediately switched up Harbor on in a vision that they were doing very well at. So, yeah.
I wonder if it's because, so Jaled, I don't think Jaled is with his teammates. Oh, hold up a second. Cristalize comes back into play. Jaled picks him back up on his feet, and what a recovery that was from Team Queso. They're going to pursue the domination. Last move, he's focused on Sleeafer, but I mean, little does he know there's going to be two players behind him. Sniper out, doesn't hit the body. A-Boot has a chance, but for a sliver of time. Fury 1 desperately trying to get a touch, keep the map alive, keep the round alive, I should say. An opportunity is here. Cristalize once again has to get a kill. Ventry has a chance to keep the round alive. But unfortunately, the hopes and dreams will die at the moment. Team Queso will win this round despite that. They did have a massive lead. But going back to my point, Toby, has Jaled been in the 1v spots down there on the neutral?
I think he has. Don't quote me on that. But as we've been so focused on the initial fight up top, but I mean, just look where the sniper's positioned from this overhead map alone, with no knowledge of how Harbor plays out. I mean, that is a lot harder to push through the center and B than up top. And of course, that will influence things, just the structure of the map, how cover works in Gears, to a more passive approach where smoke screens can make a bigger use. And the bolt talk can start to be used to angle from one lane to the other, of course, being that middle lane. I mean, it's a very controversial choice from Fury One. I mean, I said they perhaps did their research. Team Queso haven't had a great time on this map, actually. This Pro League, they lost Rise, they lost Rebel on Harbor during the split, so maybe this was planned, but I'm not sure. I remain to be convinced, I guess, in that sense.
One thing that I wanted to point out, with Jaled playing the neutral and the sniper being relatively close to him, that puts him into the fight, as opposed to he wouldn't be on the fight on the winch fight, right? So now I think Team Queso is getting tremendous value from his presence with the bolt talk. I mean, we talk about his stats and how impactful he can be. When you place the sniper where it's at, now you immediately put him into the engagement, into the team fight, which in a way hinders Fury One, because I'm a big fan of Jaled and what he brings to Team Queso.
Absolutely. So true. Aim boot. Under pressure from that bolt talk that we just spoke of. Can make all the difference, all the damage in the world. 2 1Bs essentially now. One up top and one in the center. 2v2 down this lane. Aim boot will fall first. First blood surely will go to Team Queso. Yes, it will. And they'll carry on through. Toxic, is he able to get a kill? No? Oh, yes, he is actually. Just about cleans it up with problems this time around, getting the headshot. Last. Forced to push Sleeafer now, but good thing for Sleeafer, he's able to pull away. Domination starting to come in. Last, trying to get there in time. Can he or aim boot? No, he cannot. Team Queso again, they're going to win 2 rounds in a row now since that snipe went down.
Yeah, Problems and Sleeafer. They work, or excuse me, not Problems and Sleeafer. Problems and Jaled work so well on that neutral fight. You've got Jaled who's, getting that chip damage with the bolt talk. Problems is feeling confident to push up and get the finishes. You obviously have Toxic. He's fighting for the sniper, but he's opposite of Cristalize, and Cristalize is working that position well. And then Sleeafer is keeping one of the players up top on Stern. I mean, just in check. Things are working out so well for Team Queso. You mentioned we would have a discussion and said that, obviously that snipe placement might be a bit controversial. Maybe it is. Fury One haven't won a round since the sniper was placed. It's been all Team Queso.
They fundamentally changed the map. This is the goal of Escalation power replacements. It's about changing the map, having different versions of it each time. Sleeafer, great stun though, have to mention it. As he opens things up, great 1v win against Last, and now he's going to have free reign to run across Harbor. Lots of pressure on Fury One now.
Jaled also is going to be pressured up. Aim boot trying to get there, but fortunately for him, he does back away. Jaled bolt talk in hand. You have to respect it. He's been hitting so many great shots, and look at the pressure from Team Queso. A lot of that is owed to Sleeafer, but watch out. Last move is going to blindside him, but what? Was it worth it? We'll definitely find out. His last move will fall. Unfortunately for him, this might spell the end of the round. Ventry desperately trying to get past Problems with the meat shield. To his credit, he does. Toxic also picks up an Elam. Cristalize gets the meat shield in time. He's going to take down Toxic. The domination will continue to ring. Cristalize will pick up another. There's going to be a third potential victim up ahead. It's going to be Last Move. Last Move will get the kill. Team Queso has a strong initial, but Fury One will survive.
Big 1v there from Last, saving the day after Cristalize was going off in the previous. Well done indeed. Look at this is an amazing cam from Ribs. Well done from him. Problems has got the map control right of Winch. Stern has already been taken, and now Fury One, they have to go to B. They have to just go try to chain revive through and kind of brute force their way because they're not quick enough up top. But saying that, Aim boot tries to rip away that map control we just spoke of by taking down Problems. Not going to happen though, and the downs just start coming through as we saw on Regency. The triple downs. You cannot chain revive through this Taylor when it's just so organized from a professional team like Team Queso. It's just not happening. And so you really have to question your pushes, and you really with backs up against the wall like we see now.
Second domination attempt coming through, and this time I think they're going to be able to lock it in. Maybe Ventry get a kill. Bit of a missed shot, but it's not going to amount to much. Well done from Team Queso. Round 2, snipers placed for Fury 1. Rounds 2, 3, and 4 are won from Team Queso. They've been just soaring through. They've been looking so great. The team fire, the teamwork is really, really benefiting them. On the second half, though, Do things change enough for Fury 1 potentially to gain the competitive edge, especially now with Team Queso placing a Marksa up top? Look, that might seem like a weapon, just a placeholder, and in a way it is. Okay, it's not a torque bow, right? So it doesn't really change things up, but that Marksa can really hurt Fury 1 if Sleeafer gets it.
I think we all remember that training grounds from the last major, of course, where the Marks was put down and TJ was like, all right, okay, we'll just take that and leverage that. It's all good. That placeholder is not going to do anything. Fury 1 needed this change, though, at halftime. They needed the E-Hill up top or something up top to change up the fight. But sadly for them, Sleeafer is still doing well in that 1v position, taking down Aimboot. The ball talk is still being utilized so well from Jaled from above. Somehow, some way, no. Fury 1 have picked up kills, but only Ventry remains. And this time around, the E-Hill is under control, along with map control, which is really the big difficulty of Harbor.
Mark's in Sleeafer's hands. I shouted him out. I said he could be quite devastating with it. We'll see if he will definitely live up to that expectation and that hype. Ventry did a good job overextending to keep Fury 1 competitive, but ultimately he will fall, but that was to be expected. You can't live over in the home hill of Team Queso that long and expect success. Sniper in Problem's hands and misses the body, but closing the gap quick enough to get a two-piece, and not to mention Jaled up top doing a hell of a job against Aimboot. That's 3 gone Jaled. He's going to take his time to show a little bit of love to his opposition. Meanwhile, Toby, for Team Queso, they're looking to go for it all for a domination, and I think they're going to get it.
Yeah, they are dominating right now, literally, in the chaos sense, the mechanic sense. Everything is going well from Cristalize now. Pressure on him. Can he at least get that down? No. In fact, he gets another, securing 2 kills in quick succession, and 4-1 comes through. Oh my goodness. We mentioned it right straight away, that snipe decision in the middle of the map. Now it's all of a sudden it's 4-1, when it really could have been just back and forth, if the snipe perhaps wasn't placed down middle. Right, they were doing so well up top. And since then, even as the second half comes in, even when that Marksa comes in, it's still a 1v up on Stern. Rather than the much more either 2v2 up top or the huge pressure on the winch, things have just fundamentally changed, and it's set the pace for the game mentally as well, with Team Queso dominating in that slaying department ever since.
Cristalize, I haven't been really, hyping him up and talking about him too much, aside from fighting for the sniper, but his stats are juicy, and so his Problems, with 12 kills, 13 assists, only 5 deaths, so he's getting maximum value from each and every time he sets foot on the battlefield. You can even see the confidence. Problems pushing up aggressively, but will they fall? Yes, they will. Fury 1 finally gaining a competitive edge off the start.
And they finally have a 2v2 up top, either on Winch or Stern. As soon as that happens, they win. It's so sad to see. Ventry coming in, great headshot on Jaled, but there we go. They have the snipe, they have E. They have some presence on Harbor Taylor, and it's all because they've finally been able to get them back into that kind of team fight up top.
Static Signal in chat said, I like to see F1 get at least one more round on the board. He might have just got his wish, depending on how Team Queso pursues their home hill. But I mean, Sniper, Lancer, Marksa, it's too much. They're not going to be able to break out, break through. Well done. There you go, Static Signal. They do, in fact, get another win, and Fury 1 will stay alive a little bit longer. It was that 2v2 up top that really set the precedence and set the pace for Fury 1. Well done. That's the first time we've definitively seen them, aside from round 1, win an initial.
And it's clear to me, right? Team Queso have always been a fundamentally more broad team, I think, and flexible team, and perhaps adaptable in some ways as well. And Fury 1's kind of the unique selling point, if you will, as a team is literally just the chaos. It's being able to operate in that chaos and understand when to keep your life, when to not, etc., and when to be super, super aggressive. And that's what they're good at. So let's just stick with that. Why not? Just keep deathballing, if you will, kind of maximize the numbers in those team fights and try and focus on what you do well and keep up with these team fights up top.
This time, Problems, he's not going to ego chow. He's going to take his time. Teamwork making the dream work. Crystallize with this off angle is going to be fantastic. Last move almost makes a move on the Problems, but ultimately he ends up falling. And Crystallize still has not died yet. And in fact, his impact is going to be great. This round could be over with very quickly. The only player on the battlefield besides Last Move, who's just off the respawn, is going to be Aimboot. But unfortunately, all he can do is crawl. Team Queso might be able to lock it in. Sleeafer connecting Marksa shot after Marksa shot. That gives them an opportunity to soften up the opponents, get the finishes. And with those eliminations, that's going to be it, Toby. 5-2 victory. Team Queso take a stumble in round number 6. But then they answer right back in round 7. That's a dominant victory. And again, you got to boil it down to Fury won with the sniper play. It was ingenious. I think it was great. I said it at the beginning. I was a fan of it. It's one thing to have a game plan, though, Toby. It's another to execute that game plan and how you think it should work. And unfortunately, they thought it was going to be great for them. It turned out to be a disaster.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And just fundamentally, even a snipe. Just putting a snipe anywhere on a map is dangerous when you have Sleeafer. And to think that Team Queso did as well as they did, with the final score they did on that map, they didn't even need Sleeafer on snipe that often at all.
No,
and he didn't really get it much. I mean, imagine if he did. It would have been perhaps it would have been even worse and more damaging and quicker rounds and whatnot. But yeah, I think I had faith in Fury 1 ultimately. I thought, I was assuming that this was a very well planned approach. They kind of worked Team Queso out on this map, or they had a fundamental strategy that they will employ to so confidently go from a really winning round, a dominating round at that, up top, to just be like, we kind of just prefer the other 2 lanes all of a sudden. That's kind of what they're saying at the end of the day. Because you can't send that many players up top unless you have, say, the E-Hill there, as we saw in the second half, or simply a huge power weapon. Maybe, just maybe, Taylor, as kind of like a response to their mistake or learnings that Team Queso are good with a snipe down bottom there. Just throw a power weapon up top to kind of equalize that a little bit. At least get 2v2 on the go, right? Something powerful enough to have at least 2v2 players going against each other. But even in the last round, just think, it was 3v2 up top. Fury 1 had 2 players down bottom. They tried something a little bit more unorthodox going down there rather than just sticking to their bread and butter. And Team Queso were like, no, we're just going to take winch. We're going to angle you in the back because we just lost the strict 2v2 up top on Stern. And so in a way, Team Queso were much more adaptable in that situation, and Fury 1 again deviating from what they do best.
Yeah, and it was Cristalize who made that adjustment and went down low to get that off angle. I mean, Cristalize played very well. I don't know if he was the stat leader. At one point he was when we took a peek at him, but Cristalize had a big impact. And also, he was the guy facing off against Toxic for the sniper, and he was keeping Toxic away. Even in these moments when the rounds were close, you're trying to get a domination. Cristalize, he's picking up 2-3 members. Again, Cristalize on your screen. Jaled as well. Jaled, he was pretty much out of the fight in round 1. Granted, he's fighting the neutral. To his credit, he did a good job fighting for the neutral. I think that was the only reason why Team Queso was able to stay alive as long as he did in round 1. But when the sniper's placed, now Jaled with the bolt talk, I mean, he has tremendous value, and we saw that value with headshots, with body shots. He was allowing problems to close the gap and get close and get the finishes on the neutral, but he was also giving confidence to Cristalize to push into Toxic. He had such a massive impact, and that's the teamwork that makes Team Queso so deadly. And that sniper just was the catalyst that kind of brought that teamwork together and allowed them to feel more comfortable and took away Fury 1's advantage on fighting the winch fight, which, suits their playstyle, the close quarter fights. So that was a big mistake as far as I was concerned. But for Team Queso, they'll take that. And we talk about it all the time at pro caliber play, especially major time. Little mistakes, right? Little mistakes. That's all it takes to get the competitive edge right back to your opponents. And in this case, that's exactly what happened for Fury 1's mistake placing a sniper down. But we're heading into District, right? We're heading back into Control, where we know Fury 1 can be quite successful on. And these 2 teams have history on District, Toby.
They do. They have a lot of history indeed. I mean, the previous match, of course, in the last time, actually, to be a bit more accurate in terms of District itself, with Fury 1 and Team Queso, it actually ended Team Queso winning 300 to 294.
Very
just
close.
A 6-point difference. Very close indeed.
Right.
A lot closer than that Regency, of course, that we just saw. But of course, as well, me and you casted over Formula 1. I was about to say Fury 1. They basically are Formula 1 at this point with how fast they go. And I hope they are on District, mind you. They beat Rise yesterday. I think I mentioned it earlier, right? And that's huge. That's huge. We saw what Rushies was doing on the map. The Rise were playing very well, getting the drop shot constantly, right? Getting the power weapons, controlling, playing by the book. And we know how good Rise are on District in general. So for Fury 1 to beat them, I think that shows great potential. Both of those, kind of clash with each other in a way as to who's going to take this one. I just hope for Fury 1's sake that they do act like Formula 1 cars and just continue to throw themselves and stick to what they're good at. And from what I saw yesterday on District against Rise, they were really good at that, and they were able to topple them in the second half. Don't allow Team Queso to get too many setups, though, like they did on Regency.
It's a great point. Fury 1, beating Rise, not an easy feat at all. We talk about how good Rise is on Control in general. District has traditionally been a great map for them, not only in Escalation back when it was played competitively, but also here on Control in general. But there are a couple of different things too, some counterpoints that I want to make. When they did face off against each other last time on District in Pro League, you mentioned 300-294, incredibly close. One thing to take note of, because I was casting that, Team Queso was down about 70, 80 points. Fury 1 was at 292, 293 for a long, long time. And Team Queso started coming back and coming back. And they've done it on Regency too, where they were down like 202 to 297, and they won 300, 299. That was against a totally different opponent. But in this case, on District, Fury 1, they had the win. They were so close, but they couldn't close it out. Team Queso found a way to come back. It's almost reminiscent of Regency, that map number 1 we saw, where Fury 1, tit for tat, was just hammering home the team fights and penetrating the hills from Team Queso's perspective. And Fury 1 started to taper off and slow down because Team Queso started to read that aggression, read the Formula 1 race cars, and see that. And you know, they threw up the yellow flag, the red flag, and said, you know, you guys are done. We're stopping you, stopping the race entirely. Team Queso has that potential again to do it on District. And another thing too about Fury 1, even Ryan said it yesterday on the desk, right? When he forgot that Rise actually lost map number 1. And he brought up a good point, you know, as in joke, but it was serious. For Fury 1, they always start off strong. They always start off strong on Control. They didn't start off strong on this Control. They lost the first one, and now their stamina typically starts to take a hit as the series progresses forward. I don't know if we're going to see the same Fury 1 that we saw against Rise Map 1 yesterday. They might be a bit more sluggish this time around.
Yeah, and I hope that they're not. Again, I'll repeat myself a little bit. I hope that they're not. And you made a really good point, actually, in terms of perhaps alluding to psychology at this point, which I think is going to play a major role. You know, they used to play winning that first map and kind of playing their own game. And now Harbor, that sniper, you know, placement, they're probably regretting. Honestly, if they're thinking back to how that turned out on map number 3. I'm wondering, you know, given that huge comeback that Team Queso did last time, given Fury 1's kind of playstyle, are they going to have flashbacks to that, Taylor? You know, are they going to have flashbacks to Harbor or the maps that they've played so far? They haven't won Regency when it was that close. There's a lot going against them right now mentally. Let's hope they can hold it together.
We'll find out. Team Queso getting the early points, and Fury 1 is going to get first blood onto Jaled, so that's good for them. Now they will try and bully out TQ away from that drop shot, which obviously could play a massive impact. I cannot believe Problems just rolled up and walked up to Aimboot as well as he just did. Surely he should have died, and Jaled also wins another fight. Team Queso starting off hot and heavy, my guy.
Yeah, and they're doing that quite a lot, actually, Taylor. Sneaking the downs when they're about to get taken out themselves, you know, realistically speaking, trading out, you know, kills that are really difficult to do, and it's huge, right? It's not talked about enough, perhaps, in Gears compared to other games such as like Halo, for example. Trading out kills is huge on Respawn in particular, but also, of course, it goes without saying, execution as well, to keep the numbers in balance. Numbers is everything. And despite losing the drop shot, perhaps they slow down Fury 1's positioning just a little bit. You know, it really does matter if you can wipe the team and dominate map control that way. Let's see if Fury 1 can kind of use that now. It seems like they can. Ventry with a triple kill actually just off screen.
Yeah.
There's one player left to clean up now in green.
That was incredible. Team Queso were Wolfpacking. I was just about to compliment and go on my typical tirade about how good they are when they Wolfpack, but I'm being absolutely shut down from Ventry's perspective, picking up a triple. And to make matters worse, Team Queso, they're back on the attack. They're back on the offense, trying to get the hill. But then they're going against a drop shot. And Aimboot is also picking up Problems. Fury 1 catching new life. That was such a great start from Team Queso, but Fury 1 have answered back. Jaled has no choice but to push through and try and make a miracle play. Team Queso have attempted to get onto this hill twice, and twice they have failed.
That's the game plan for Fury 1. Keep Team Queso at bay and prevent them from slowing the game down and setting up. Great job so far, but perhaps I've spoken too soon. Problems goes on through the middle of green with his teammate pushing on through. Ventry trying to hold the line. There comes Last as well. Great chunk over the top. Make that a second. Toxic with the angle in the back. Fury 1 this time are going to be the better defenders, it seems like, as they hold on to that hill. 25 seconds, or rather 35 seconds left, excuse me. Now the question remains, Taylor, is when to rotate. You know, Team Queso have spawned down bottom. The hill is going to be the opposite end of the map. Fury 1, they're moving a little bit faster, and they did get the drop shot for a second, but Cristalize, or rather Problems, will clean that up.
I think Fury 1 needs to really hit this rotation hard. Unfortunately, they're just too spread out. They're way too spread out. Team Queso, you notice all 4 members on the left side. But, I mean, we've seen this story take place just a little bit earlier. Ventry saw 3 members, and he finished up all of them. Last move gets an off angle. Aim boot also from the front. This is looking great for Fury 1. In fact, they're picking up the elims to be expected. The last guy that can really make an impact here is going to be Problems, and he's already down. Sleeafer will get him back into the fight, brings it to a 2v2. But Toxic is also in the distance, getting the Lancer damage. Shock was also placed. It's for sure chaos, but Fury 1 finds a way to take over the hill. That is excellently executed. I was very concerned. I thought they were a bit spread out, but honestly, that ended up working in their favor because Team Queso was so focused on the individuals, they ended up letting go a couple of players who were able to get onto their backside, Lancer them down, and therefore give a competitive edge to those very few players from F1. And with their slaying power, what a difference that made. Fury 1, they have the lead.
Yeah, there's a very fine line, of course, between scrappy and chaos and just flat out disorganized. And I think Fury 1 was perhaps disorganized for the majority of that, but they did clean it up in the end, of course, keeping Team Queso with their backs against the walls, essentially.
You don't get to run away from this.
Nice kill from Ventry. Fury 1 still holding on tight. There's a bit of a chance from Team Queso. Maybe Sleeafer, or should be Problems. Meat Shield's gone. Ventry's on the run. Problems as well because he's full red. But Ventry, he'll lock it in, hold it down. And that kind of ruins the chances of Team Queso getting onto this hill. Maybe they get the scrap time, but the way F1 is slaying out, well, maybe not. Aim boot will make a bit of a mistake, but Team Queso, they'll be in control of the current hill. But Fury 1, I mean, well done, really. I mean, they're looking strong, they're looking good. They don't have the point lead, but still we're seeing those, or they do have the point lead, my apologies. But we are seeing Fury 1 just really take hold and maybe seeing glimpses of their Rise performance yesterday.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure if this was really well planned by them or just playing the usual game, but they knew they at least had to get a little bit faster, and they seems to be doing that very well. Oh, this is good, though, from Jaled. Double from him. Cristalize will find aim boot as well, and this could be the setup that Team Queso were looking for. Finally, they can get into a defensive position on this map. And also, they're not that too far behind in score, of course, due to their efforts going back and forth with Fury 1. So they've kept themselves close to a really good, dominating Fury 1 roster here, but they now have the opportunity to really throw themselves into that first position with the scoreline and finally get into their groove.
Jaled, bit of a tricky spot in this corner. He has the shock. He's waiting for the perfect opportunity to use, and I think the time is, no, not now. He's not going to use it, and it's going to go to waste, unfortunately. I mean, why not? If you know you're making that push, throw it. Force them to reposition.
Yeah.
That gives you a chance to snub out maybe Lancer. That's a bit of a misplay for me, Toby.
It is. Well, let's go back to basics, right? Power weapons, what are they about? It's about gaining value and gaining an advantage. At least try and get an advantage and use it to some degree rather than just throw it to waste, or just not use it at all. And that's just a complete failure for me from Jaled. Slow it down, right? It's even go in line with the Team Queso method against a Fury 1 roster, which literally are like Formula 1 cars right now. They're flying across the map, constantly looking for kills, not allowing Team Queso to breathe. Very confusing indeed. Let's hope they can turn it around in a little bit, of course, because Team Queso already getting wiped now as they try and go for the next setup.
Getting wiped indeed. They do have a couple of members in the hill. Of course, I'm talking about Problems and Sleeafer. 7 and 6 might join in the mix. Player 1 aim boot is going to have a bit of an off angle, but unfortunately not too much of an impact. Well, maybe so. I mean, he did soften up the opponent, so now last move and Co can maybe get them a couple of chunks, which they will. Team Queso, despite having real estate in the hill, Fury 1 did a wonderful job eliminating them before they can even get the ball rolling. I mean, F1 has caught fire. We see Team Queso maybe, having these glimpses that they're going to start coming back. They're gaining some type of control, but Fury 1 are looking so strong at the moment that I'm starting to lose faith that Team Queso can close the series out 3-1.
Yeah. Fury 1 are really, really doing well right now. They proved that they can be aggressive and get those kills and be there for the mid-transition. Yes, some disorganization, arguably, on the opposite hill across the way from the current one, but honestly, they've been managing the power weapons from the get-go. And usually you'd expect the slower team, the more methodical by-the-book team to be the ones kind of leading in that area, but no. Here we go. Aimboot not going to quite connect to Cristalize, but you could, yeah, absolutely. He's going to throw himself at that 1v with that damage advantage and right hand. A little bit of high advantage. Meanwhile, though, Team Queso did finally break through, but perhaps a little bit too late. Taylor, only 10 seconds left on that one.
Yeah, a little bit too late. Now you got to focus on next. You see Sleeper rotate off with 11 seconds remaining. Problems, I don't know if Nose of Toxic is there, but he's going to get absolutely gunned down. Sleeper now has to back away. I'm honestly glad he did. I could see Sleeper making that push by himself, but that just wouldn't have been the best push as far as I was concerned. Now, I can say the same thing for Aimboot. Should he have got that aggressive pushing up, he nearly loses his life. Problems has a real chance here to go for a three-piece. Unfortunately, he will fall a bit behind. Team Queso, they have Ventry on the run. It looked like Fury 1 was going to have control of the new hill, but Team Queso is obviously there, and it seems as if now Fury 1 are the guys who are on the back burner who have to now fight for control themselves. This could very well be a big turning point for TQ.
And they need it now more than ever as we really get a lot closer now to that 300 mark in the later stage, if you will, of District. Great movement from Last for surviving as long as he can, but definitely going to be taken down eventually. Meanwhile, this is great from Fury 1 elsewhere. They're pushing in through the front. And then Team Queso a little bit distracted as soon as they get split up and they're not able to be together. It seems like Fury 1 can really get to what they're good best at, and that's just winning in the shotgun fights during those difficult situations that are very unpracticed, if you will. Aimboot, great movement from him. Drop shot picked up. Meanwhile, Ventry's gonna have to try and use that now.
Ooh, Jaled's pushing aggressively. It's gonna miss. There's a chance Jaled will fall, however. So even though the drop shot was missed, no worries. They still get the result they were wanting. Now, I wasn't accounting for Sleeper, though, being all the way in the back. I mean, that is such a nice angle, but unfortunately, the value is lost. Now Sleeper has to give up that spot and push the hill. Granted, only 9 seconds remaining. It really was an impactful hill for Team Queso. Fury 1 only get about 10, 15 points. Granted, they will break 200. They find themselves over on the new hill. But already Team Queso is there to match them tit for tat. Jaled will be the first one to push it for Team Queso. He's also the first one to fall. Problems, he's going to be full red. Aimboot, nice shot. Another follow-up from Toxic on the Cristalize. One more to worry about. That Sleeper, he can't go anywhere. You got Ventry from mid. He's going to out-angle him. Fury 1 well on their way to sending it to a map 5.
Oh, that's good for Last as well. That's a nice little stagger, actually, on Cristalize. They've already got the other end of the map locked down, right? They've got the points advantage. That just adds a little bit more pressure now to Team Queso as they come off spawn to try and formulate an attack. It's honestly surprising as well, given that Fury 1 were a little bit, you know, numbers disadvantage, shall we say, from that last hill, and they still come out on top here. Now, lovely little shot grenade. Again, delaying more time. Time is of the essence right now for Team Queso, given the score differential. Stun from Ventry. Open things up. Surely the fight will go down any second now.
Ooh, who's going to get this, Toby? You know, for a short bit, I thought Problems might be able to end up ahead. He doesn't. I mean, this lead from Fury 1, we talked about the comeback last time they played on this map, and obviously that was Team Queso coming back. Fury 1 couldn't close out. But I'm not seeing any indication that the momentum has shifted. And I really haven't seen that. Even when Team Queso shows glimpses of life, it doesn't indicate to me that Fury 1 has lost control per se. F1 have been on fire, and they haven't been extinguished yet. I'm not seeing any indications they're losing life at all. And in fact, they're heating up even more, it seems.
Yeah, well, at least they've answered the question, right? The concern of ours about them being psychologically impacted at this point, right? Team Queso were kind of challenged in that sense in Regency after the KCP loss yesterday, but no, both teams are locked in, right? They are professionals. It's clear as day to everyone here watching right now. Now Toxic needs to get active any second now. Great game sense. He gets the double despite not being able to see too clearly where the players are positioned. And he had a great shot earlier as well. 280, 20 seconds to go, and just under. Now Problems all on his own here at the bandstand.
Holding it down. Unfortunately, the time is still ticking away. Not gaining any points being in that spot. Last move has a chance to shut it down, and he will. Toby, 300 to 142. A dominant victory from the perspective of Fury 1. And it looks like Ash just really knows what he's talking about. He said it's going to Game 5, Toby. And well, it's going to Game 5. I'm not giving Fallout any credit at all. Now, granted, Ribs also said it might go to a game 5. He predicted Team Queso to win. So now you got the battle of the analysts. But I gotta say, for my own ego, I want to be right too. But Fury 1, they might lock in map number 5 as well. Things are starting to get spicy up in here. And Clocktower is going to be map number 5. Chad, who's taking it? We'll find out after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Champs Bracket of the Gears Spring Major. I'm Taylor Reflections Oval, joined by Toby Campbell, Fury 1, Team Queso. Neither team refusing to nil to each other, and I gotta say I appreciate it. I really do. District, we highlighted how well this could go for F1, given the fact that they beat Rise yesterday. Obviously, I came up with some critiques myself. I tried to balance it out, but Toby, you were spot on. I mean, Fury 1, that victory against Rise yesterday, exemplified even greater this time around against TQ.
Yeah, I think we can confidently say at this point, Fury 1 love their district controls, right? And they really should kind of leverage that going forward. It's not just like a particular team or opponent against them. And no, it is them. They are very good at this map, and they love those up A opportunities, the wrap shots, everything going their way, and those very difficult fights in areas like Cinema. Very, very unique situations where there's not much space apart from that one pillar in which you can up A on and then back A on. So yeah, absolutely. Fury 1, well played from them. And you mentioned the word balance as well, Taylor, and this series has just been so exciting to actually cast over, right, and try and provide analysis for, because it is literally back and forth in play styles. We started with Regency, of course. It was all about the defense, as Regency always has been. Team Queso do really well on that checkout. We just throw ourselves into the chaos of those shotgun fights through plat and mid-check, and Fury 1 get it. Harbor, things a little bit controversial with that snipe placement, of course, which did slow down Harbor into more of a map that perhaps is more suitable to Team Queso, and then we saw what happened in District, where it just completely turns around. We go back to Chaos and Fury 1 win. The question is, as we go into map 5, Taylor, is which way are we going to go? Typically, Clocktower is a very fast-paced execution, not so much so kind of the way of checkout, but it can also be a strategic map, of course. You can send a player down bottom to slow things down by getting those nades. You can even go for flanks, mind you. And then you also have the Sleeafer factor that Ashes was talking about, right? If you can throw him down the snipe lane, it's hard to kind of like go with which team at this point, after seeing the maps play out, since going through those predictions, kind of who's got the edge. I think we should perhaps, start the discussion there.
I mean, I gotta say, I don't say this too often, but I've been really disappointed in Sleeafer in the series. I don't think he's been the standout player that I'm used to seeing. He didn't have an impact with Sniper. He didn't fight for Sniper on Harbor, which granted, that still was fine. That worked out just well. I don't expect Sleeafer to always want to touch the Sniper. He's not Xploidz, Xploidz is always, he gets his value from the power weapons. Sleeafer, he's a bit more, I wouldn't say versatile, that's not the right word, but he can be more versatile than just, wanting to go for Snipe. He was great with Marksa, but also he didn't fight for Sniper on checkout, and we didn't see really an impact either from him on execution checkout in general. I don't think Sleeafer's having the best series here. Meanwhile, on the flip end, I do think Cristalize and Jaled are having a wonderful series. They're popping off and they're playing incredibly well. But Sleeafer, who typically is the spearhead, especially on Clocktower, has been quite sluggish. And if he continues to be sluggish on map number 5, Clocktower execution, you take his snipe ability away. I really think Fury 1 has a great chance to win map number 5. But if Sleeafer's on point and Team Queso's working well together to get Sleeafer that sniper and get him out of there, I think the impact could be pretty devastating. But again, if Sleeafer remains sluggish like he has in the previous 4 maps, Toby, I think Team Queso could be in trouble in map 5.
You could be right, yeah. You could be right. I mean, you mentioned Jaled and Crystallize. Problems actually stood out to me on Regency as having one of the worst KDs, maybe the worst KD in the map.
Exactly.
And we know how much of an X factor he can be too.
Right.
So really, he's kind of that Team Queso roster for me. It's kind of been a bit put off, perhaps by the Fury 1, chaos that they introduced in their gameplay. Team Queso have responded very well as a team. Individually at times, though, it's kind of Fury 1 that are able to come through inventory to take advantage and come off with some amazing KDs last, etc. Just as we saw against Rise yesterday. Fury 1 are individually capable of that. I think this basically boils down to, you nailed it there. Team Queso really need to go all in on that Sleeafer strategy. They need to support him and have that confidence both in him and, as a result, him himself to be able to kind of carry him a little bit, with that power up and control and that snipe and whatnot. But likewise, the argument there, which we have to mention about Fury 1, is that mid wall. Clocktower can be strategic. Yes, you have options, but Clocktower overall, there it can be quite fast-paced action. And through that mid wall, as we saw Bronny yesterday do very well, maybe a player like Ventry or Co can literally throw themselves through that mid wall and get so many kills and provide so much pressure that kind of just disables that strategy over at the snipe side. So it really could go either way, and I'm curious to see which strats are actually employed by Team Queso in particular as they kind of tackle Clocktower.
What's the record between these two teams on Clocktower?
Well, we've got actually, I think it's Fury 1-3 historically, Clocktower through Pro League. 2-3 are Team Queso, so not particularly excellent map for either two teams. Historically, in the short term, if you will, in the split. So let's see. Actually, Aimboot is the one to pick up snipe first.
Yeah, I mean, Aimboot, you know, a good sniper in his own right. We'll see what he can do to Avexis. I'm only saying that because Avexis is in chat, so I want to poke a little bit of fun at him. But Avexis, you're obviously incredible. I saw you yesterday, and I'm scared of you. Aimboot does get the sniper, and what damage can he do? Team Queso actually will drop down low and get their hands on the nades. Notice, Toby, nobody has died as of yet. A standstill might occur, but Aimboot is hungry, and that's going to be a good body on Cristalize, but it's not a kill.
Yeah. Gotta be careful that not enough damage is put either team's way to initiate an attack here, because that's what you're looking for. If you don't have utility, maybe Frax could do it though. That's gonna be thrown to Aimboot. Oh, not only will he not go down, he'll just get killed outright. That's a snipe on the ground right now. So Team Queso need to make sure that can't be gone in for a quick pick. His last attempting down. No, actually, he has got it already. Never mind. A lot faster than me, clearly. Sleeafer with 2 downs. This is the pressure that I was talking about. Team Queso can utilize all that damage, the numbers to throw themselves across. Last will be taken down. Problems will clean up last.
A great round from Team Queso, Toby. The way that they adjusted so quickly after Aimboot gets the sniper, you notice Team Queso didn't waste any time. They, you know, traditionally you go into a bit of a stalemate, you see what the sniper player is going to do, and you wait for an opening. Team Queso didn't wait at all. They immediately rotated down. 2 or 3 players got their hands on the nades. They then rotated back up. The nades had tremendous effect. Even though it doesn't get an outright kill, it did enough damage for the Lancer to get the finish. That was a wonderfully executed round from Team Queso and showcasing that they can adjust quite well. Round number 2, this time Jaled looking to make a move onto the sniper, Aimboot 2, but we have one of those stalemates again where the sniper's not going to be picked up, but Team Queso does get first blood. Fury 1 doesn't have snipe in hand. In fact, as I look through, they do have 1 utility for Toxic, but not a lot to work with.
Yeah, good spot that. The utility is very important if you're going to try and make a push to equalize the numbers and catch a team off guard like Team Queso, and that tends to be right Fury 1's strategy. And they are doing that right now. They're throwing themselves into the snipe. Toxic, is he able to get out? Yes, he is. Relatively no damage actually put his way. Almost getting a headshot there as they try and escape. Good attempt from Toxic there, but now 3v2 as they try and run through as Problems goes for those nades. They've had the audible, but they can't get across quick enough. Team Queso, meanwhile, they turn around very quickly indeed, that third player, leaving it down to a 4v1.
There it is, Team Queso, 2 rounds in a row. No deaths at all. They haven't died. Wonderful, wonderful job and beautifully executed and countered on that sniper play. You know, we highlight Sleeafer as we should for the sniper, but I think Team Queso in that last round did a wonderful job stopping Fury 1 for getting their hands on the sniper. And let's face it, you know, off the first 2 rounds, Fury 1 clearly values that sniper and they feel comfortable with it. You take that away from them, they kind of go into a frenzy.
That's the concern, isn't it? Fury 1 can't do anything through the mid wall. Team Queso don't allow it. Everyone just starts defaulting to that snipe alley. Could be problematic, but nice, perhaps I've spoken too soon. Fury last, yep, does come straight back up actually as he went down bomb to test the nades. Meanwhile, Sleeafer is doing work on the snipe alley.
Problem sees a player up ahead. He aims it up, but he's actually going to die off. Ventry takes him down. That's going to be the first kill from Fury 1's perspective, but Toby, it's going to be the only one. Nothing to write home to, but 3-0 lead for Team Queso. That's definitely honorable and solid. You know, we talk about at the beginning of the series, Toby, we put a lot of value in Team Queso winning the series, but most importantly, Toby, you were the biggest advocate saying if this went to a map 5, Team Queso is going to be a heavy favorite against F1 on this very map.
Yeah, I tend to stick that way just because of how difficult of a map Clocktower is and how strategic you can get, but also just the Sleeafer factor. And we've seen Team Queso do so well in Clocktower since the very start of Gears 5 execution and entering into the fold, if you will. Fury 1 perhaps getting a little bit predictable. Can they be a little bit quicker now and a bit more cutthroat?
We're gonna have to. We need that same aggression, that same attitude that they had on District just a little bit earlier, and maybe even Regency in the beginning portions. Sleeper, sniper in hand. First time we'll get to see him really pop off, or potentially pop off after all. With first blood, he has to have the utmost confidence. Tries to angle the shot on player 7 of entry. It's unfortunately just going to whiff it a bit. Nice body. Not getting too overzealous, though. Team Queso playing this slowly. They understand they have the man advantage. They don't want to overexpose or risk themselves and bring it to a 3v3. No competitive edge going to F1. Team Queso refuses to budge.
Last trying so hard to find that 1v. The problems will simply not give away. These players are too smart to allow that to occur. Sleeafer has a snipe. No need to rush anything at this point in time. Nice shot, though, onto last. Lines it up. Finally, we get to see some snipe action here from Sleeafer. 4v2. Surely it's all but over. Bar a miracle from Fury 1.
Might just be. There's one. Can we get a second? Yes, we will. It was Sleeafer, not Cristalize. Sleeafer popping the head off of one. 4-0 lead for Team Queso. It's right in front of you guys. They are leading, and Fury 1 have yet to pick up 2 kills. Ventry, the only one with a single elimination. Toby, you've been looking at Clocktower since, I mean, forever. Like, you know this map like the back of your hand. Where is Fury 1 lacking? Is it just their inability to change up their pacing, change up their style?
I think it just comes down to being predictable, yeah. I mean, simply put, Team Queso just done so well in this snipe valley. They've dictated everything. Finally, Fury 1 have changed things up. Cristalize was watching though, wasn't he? He's ready to turn around, but that is the chaos that he might have just created that they need. 3v3. Fury 1 have got the snipe out of that, so that was value gained, in fact, as they now have the advantage. 3v3. Problems on the flank at Fury 1. They're in a position as well to make sure that they can at least fight him off. Not necessarily get a kill, though. Cristalize picking up the nades just behind. Nonetheless, advantage definitely the way of Fury 1 right now. If they can make sure that no one can go down the snipe alley and make sure that there's no pushes. In fact, Fury 1 are just going to give this up. Yeah, they're going to keep their distance from the nades. I believe they're just going to set up for the hill, I suppose. In fact, we do see some turbo action perhaps coming in. We rarely see the pickup, but that's a very good opportunity for Fury 1, right? They have the snipe, they have the range. They can keep Team Queso at bay, allowing for Toxic to kind of leverage that a little bit by getting the torque and taking the time to get some more power weapons.
And also, A-Boot picks up the extra utility. So you have utility, you've got Torque Bow, you have Sniper. Fury 1 has literally everything to be successful. If they don't find success here, I mean, what more can Fury 1 really do to beat Team Queso? I genuinely hope F1 wins this round and we kind of see a snowball effect and they just start tumbling into the lead, or at least make this competitive. Getting up the steps, though, with Torque Bow Sniper still could be quite difficult, and not to mention Cristalize still has the nade in hand, and it's been thrown. Second one's also out. A-Boot's got to be careful. Ventry's going to die. 3v1. Fury 1 had everything possible to be successful, Toby, and they still couldn't do it.
Oh, this is heartbreaking to see for them, isn't it? Snipe just on the back, not able to be used in any great effect there in the last half of that round, and you can see how much it means to Team Queso. They knew exactly what was going on, right? That 3v3 situation. Fury 1 slowed it down. You don't see it often from them, but it didn't help them whatsoever in the end. Wow. Fantastic nades from Cristalize. It was just kind of the best opportunity, right, for Team Queso, and they just made it work. Cristalize, perfect nade, just to at least split them up. No, they even got kills in the end. I'm surprised, actually, it wasn't the first player, Aim Boot, that got naded in the end. Surprised Fury 1 let that slip, if you will. 5-0. Hugely important map number 5 this is for both teams, given how close they are at the start and throughout the Gears Esports history. Let's see if Last can do anything on the flank.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time we see a definitive flank, and he hasn't been spotted. Oh, this is going to be devastating. That's going to be 1, maybe 2. Problems is down and out. Last will definitely get the cleanup. That's going to be number 3, going for an Sleeafer on the run. Last, though, wants it. He's hungry. And they're all funneling in. That's a body. It's not going to be enough. Sleeper and A-Boot will get the final elimination. Last move on the flank. I mean, it took getting absolutely destroyed 5 rounds in a row for them to finally break the mold and change their strategy, and it ended up working. Imagine if they did that a little bit earlier.
And that's the importance, right, of just being on the flank. Even if it's red time and time again, providing Fury 1, the 3 players can stay alive at top and the snipe isn't really gained without losing anything else, then that's an advantage of Fury 1 in my opinion, right? Just keep Team Queso guessing and keep them split up. Fight on 2 fronts at the very bare minimum, regardless of whether the last can get kills. Let's see though, as things do to return to a more default state. Aimboot's picked up snipe, downs everywhere right now on Clocktower.
Nice shot. Good finish. Problem's dead. Now, 4v3, Fury 1, they have the advantage. Sleeafer backing away. We've seen this time in and time out. Once we see Aimboot or Fury 1 with the sniper, they rotate down to secure nades. This time, they're going to take advantage by pushing aggressively into the mismatch fight up top. It seems like it might pay off. Another player down from Team Queso. Now a 3v2. One nade out, doesn't connect. As a matter of fact, the other one was lost in the sauce too. We don't even see where it ends up going. A real chance for Fury 1 to bring this 5-2, but a couple of missed shots. An opportunity for Sleeafer. Now a 2v2. Make that a 2v1. Sleeafer, though, will bring it to a 1v1. And now it comes down to who's going to clutch up.
That can't happen. That simply cannot. It's 3v2, Taylor. They've used the nades of Team Queso. That's like, oh my goodness me. What is that from Aimboot?
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, indeed. I was literally just breaking them down, and Aimboot was like, it's all right, so we're fine. I'm just going to Superman him, no problem. 1v1, easy. I handle my 1vs. The point is, Taylor, let's just look at this headshot and enjoy it first. Not quite a Superman, but honestly, doesn't even matter. It's a huge headshot from him. Yeah. 3v2, you have snipe, you have map control, you have height advantage, you have everything going for you, and the nades are just used. Why are you having a 1v in the middle of prison? It just shouldn't happen. It just should not happen. Good thing they clutched up.
Amazing. Aimboot is popping off. You gotta love what Aimboot is doing in this moment. Sleeafer hand and face. Aimboot also the same. And first blood will go to the way of, well, actually, I'm not even gonna call it first blood because now Sleeafer was last alive, and what a round that was. Fury won 3 rounds in a row. Last move on that flank was devastating, but come on, Toby, they're doing it.
I know they are. This is what I mean. It's just back to basics. It's back to what you do best in Gears. And this is the beauty of the esport, right? You don't have to just play a single way. You can have different characters, different styles. And stylistically, Fury 1 really embody that difference. And now they're finally getting into the groove. They're getting confident. They're winning their shotgun fights. And they're keeping the pace up of this game in the way that suits them.
Love it. Aimboot, though, unfortunately, will be first. Oh, this might be over with Team Queso now. 4v2, 4v1. Toxic, last alive, but not for long. A 6-3 victory, and Team Queso will huddle around and say, GG's. What a performance that was. 5 rounds in a row. A big answer back from Fury 1 and 3, but round 9 is where it will all end. Team Queso, they go to a close map 5. However, they still get the victory in the end. The second time they beat Fury 1. First time in Pro League. Second time where it matters the most, the Spring Major. Hell of a job and well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sleeafer, of course, was kind of not talked about much or seen much in the series, but he finally showed up when it mattered most right at the end there with a 12-3 KD. Well played from him. And it really raises the question again. The concern with Harbor, of course, is perhaps the decision-making on the strategy side for Fury 1. Maybe, just maybe, if they try to up the ante a little bit earlier on Clocktower, whether that's through a strat change or just a general, maybe just general level of confidence, perhaps, in the way they were playing, perhaps those 5 rounds wouldn't have gone the way they did. Fury 1, in those last 3 rounds, or the last 4, if you will, looked like a completely different team and more of themselves, most importantly. They didn't do anything too different. Yes, it's more unorthodox having a guy just go through the flank pretty consistently. They made it work. And it's sad to say, of course, given how close the 2 teams were. I think Team Queso was just perhaps the more polished team in the end of the day, more adaptable, and perhaps the mistakes, the few that Fury 1 did have, perhaps was what cost them in the end.
Yeah, Fury 1, though, put up a heck of a fight and better performance than they did in Pro League, Toby. So still happy with the way they played, but Team Queso getting the victory, it's not a big surprise per se. The biggest surprise for me, honestly, was how close it was, but hell of a performance. Sleeafer stepped it up on the map 5 exactly when he needed to after a lackluster performance in the first 4 maps. But out of the fire into the frying pan they go. Now they have to play against E United. But Toby, what a great cast that was. We still have a long day ahead, guys. A lot of matches to take place. But first, we got to break down this matchup between Team Queso and Fury 1 that went the distance with TQ getting the win. Fallout, I pass it over to you. Talk to me about Aimboot. Despite Fury 1 losing, I still think he played well.
This guy's mocking me in the fact that I get furious and die a little inside every time I hear him say aim boot. When his gamertag is clearly aimbot. Can we please establish this as a Gears community officially? We had some other good names like AOL. We're just going to call him AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, AOL boot. We got some good kind of things rolling around here. But jokes aside, what a series that was. Ash, hell of a welcome to your debut as an analyst here. A lot to break down. 5-game series. We were torn in our predictions. And look, in the end, it showed why. I mean, goes to the 5th game. Fury 1 almost brings it back there on Clocktower, but just not enough gas.
Yeah, I mean, it was really close the entire series. I got a little bit nervous when Team Queso came out swinging because I was pretty convinced that Fury needed that first map. But Fury showed composure, which is something that I don't think I was really expecting from a young gun team like that. They showed that they could take a loss, bounce back, immediately clap back with their own win. So the series ended up being really close. It came down to a Clocktower, and I mean, I didn't want my first prediction of the day, of the weekend, to be wrong, but that was a dog water performance out of Fury on that Clocktower.
This man said dog water performance. Well, hey, we're going to get there in the replays in a second. I want to hear exactly what was so bad about their Game 5 performance, besides the fact that, you know, they lost, went down 5-0 to start. But Ribs, walk me through the highlights here. Game 1 on control, and Fury just started flat.
Yeah, I mean, they actually started this first map decently well. They got to that 150-point mark, and then it was just a clinic for TQ. They got their rotations down. You saw them setup after setup, just funnel the players in, and that's what you expect out of a team like TQ. They were getting a lot of their team fire down. You saw it plenty of times on Harbor. You saw it on the first map. But Ashes, you're right. That first map, if somehow Fury 1 wins that map, they do what they do on Checkout, which was just amazing. Their close quarters combat, their teamwork, their wolf packing. I don't think they send a player to nades one round because they were just confident in that 4-player versus 4-player clash over by the plat. If they win map 1 and 2, surely they close it out on District. But yeah, this is where I loved what I saw out of TQ time and time again. Once that sniper went down, you saw Team Queso with beautiful team fire. And Ashes, I know you could appreciate that as well. I mean, all the teams you coached had that beautiful team fire as well.
Yeah, the team fire came out, and it was very crucial in a lot of these maps. I didn't see as much of it in Harbor, which I was a little bit surprised.
This one right here. Watch this clip.
It almost looked like two different teams.
Look at it. They're just shooting fish in a barrel. They're just shredding them. I love when I see that out of TQ, and they manage to do that whenever they win a match. They're able to do that. But yeah, on the side of Fury 1, you don't see it as much, right? A little bit more hero plays, a little bit more shotguns, and that's probably why they lost Clocktower as well.
Yeah, the teamwork was definitely like fluctuating between the two different teams. Like right here, you see Team Queso, like they're playing angles, Jaled's playing wide, they're lancering the hills, but when Fury was able to get up in their faces, it didn't really matter so much. It looked like Fury was a lot more comfortable on a map like District.
Yeah, and a nice double drop shot kill here. But yeah, Fury, this has to be their strongest map, District. Once we got to Clocktower, we're not going to see it as much in the highlights, but those first few rounds that Team Queso won, I mean, they won 5 straight. They were doing a nice little bait. I don't know if you caught it, Ashes. They were running towards Sniper. They were throwing their typical stun grenades, their smoke grenades, and then they were just like shooting through the smoke, getting early downs, pretty much just kills that were risk-free, that were giving them numbers in a lot of those first few rounds. It took 5 rounds for finally Fury 1 to say, we got to do something. They get that flank. They almost win a 4th round in a row. Too little, too late, though. You can't put yourself in a hole like that, right, Ash? Just 5 rounds down on the 5th map. That's just too much of a hill to try to climb on a tiebreak map.
Yeah, they definitely dug their own grave there going down that far. And even though we saw some good life out of them with those flanks, by being a little bit more aggressive, by playing like they had nothing to lose, it ended up not mattering. Sleeafer here looked like he was actually going to make the hero play, but, you know, Aim Girl came out, putting the aim in his name, getting this headshot to close out the round. And, you know, it didn't matter. No matter how much life they showed, it looked like Team Queso was just a better team on Clocktower.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you decided to call him by something other than what
a new name.
Reflections, exactly. What Reflections refuses to call him by, which is his real gamer tag, Aim Girl. So thank you for that. 3-2. Team Queso wins over Fury 1. But again, look at the score here. Close games, back and forth, and these teams are just taking turns, trading punches. In the end, though, Team Queso was able to start strong on Game 5 Clocktower, just like the analysts and the casters said. Execution on Clocktower is a Team Queso bread and butter. And of course, pun intended there, given the Team Queso situation. Sniper in the hands of Sleeafer. The way that they were able to perform and close that out was impressive. Team Queso now advances to round number 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket, though, so we can see how the rest of the bracket has shaked out. shook out the Defiance 3-0's Abyss. The two teams coming from Challenger. Well, Defiance clearly the superior team. That sets them up for a very interesting round 2 matchup against the Pittsburgh Knights. Meanwhile, Rebel with a 3-0 sweep over Hive. They're coming out swinging today over a Hive squad that showed some potential yesterday. Abuelos, well, they actually were challenged a little bit by Casa de Papel. Were able to advance to go into round number 2. So that poses the question here I want to ask you guys before we throw it a break. Of these round 2 matchups, which one is the most likely for upset in your eyes? I asked you at the beginning of the day. I want to ask you again. Ash, starting with you.
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, every single one of these matchups is great. I'm going to throw some controversial things out there real quick. I think Rise historically is a Friday team. They always come out swinging on Fridays. They look amazing. They look like the best team in the game on Friday. And then when that bracket hits, when it's time to get serious, when it's time to lock in and earn that championship, they don't show up. I don't know what it is about that team, and it's been across multiple rosters, but something needs to switch, and that's going to be what the game changer is for them. So if they don't flip that switch, then I could see Rebel causing an upset, and I don't think any of us would expect something like that.
Ribs?
No, yeah, it's not even controversial. You're 100% right, Ashes. I mean, that's a team that hasn't lost in pool play like 3 or 4 events in a row. They have to be able to transition that into champ bracket. On the bottom side, I mean, we talked about how the Knights are in great form. They won the playoffs of E-Days last week. But if they go against a red-hot Defiance, those are all championship caliber players. Cells and Toady still need to prove himself. But like you said, Lava and Kenny, multi-champions. If they get a win 3-0 like they just did, surely they have momentum going against the Knights. And they have nothing to lose also. So that's kind of scary for those rosters.
Yeah, I gotta agree with both of you. I think those are the 2 matchups I think we have to circle and keep an eye on. You know, in addition to that, Team Queso, well, maybe they're a little warm after a 5-game series against Fury 1. Perhaps they can put up a challenge against United. I think the Kansas City Pioneers are gonna have their way with a 3-0 win. Those are my predictions, kind of my thoughts. But hey, enough from us. We're gonna jump to a quick break. When we come back, we will have the preview of the match we've been waiting for: Rise versus Rebel, live on the main stage. A matchup with Rise. Can they perform on championship bracket, or will Rebel take them out?